This episode's brought to you by our friends at Spoken.io. Spoken is for professionals who want to improve their English to reach their career goals. And Culips is partnering with Spoken to give you a special offer for 2 free lessons. To get all the details, just visit culips.com/spoken. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Suzanne.
And we're back with another Culips episode.
Woohoo!
Hey Sue, how are you?
I'm great, Andrew. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, thanks. Sue?
Yeah.
Do you like visiting the bakery?
Oh my goodness. I love visiting the bakery.
I was in a bakery the other day and it smelled so good.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this is one of my favorite scents in the whole world, is the smell of a bakery.
Yep. I totally feel you. It's my favorite thing about bakeries. Just walking in and smelling the smell of baking bread.
Just thinking about it is making my mouth water.
Yeah, and my stomach growl. You know, my grandfather owned an Italian bakery in Brooklyn when I was growing up.
I didn't know that. Wow.
So after school, I would go to the bakery, and instead of having cookies and milk, like store-bought, I would have really good pastries and cookies and bread made by my grandpa.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's great.
Yes. So I love bakeries.
Well, everybody, if you haven't guessed it by now, we are going to talk about bakeries today. And more specifically, how you can order some baked goods at a bakery. Because most bakeries are set up where there's a display case and you can't actually choose what you want. You have to talk to a staff member and they will select the baked good for you. So this is really a situation where you need to know the correct vocabulary and expressions if you want to eat that brownie.
Yeah.
Today we're going to do a Real Talk episode. And Real Talk is the series where we take a close look at expressions that are very important for everyday life in an English-speaking country.
Yeah. And ordering at a bakery isn't extremely challenging, but there is some specialized vocabulary you should be aware of.
That's for sure. And hey, we wouldn't want a pesky little verb to stand in the way of eating a muffin or a bagel, would we?
No. So let's outline the plan for this episode. We'll begin by listening to a conversation between a baker and a customer that takes place at a bakery. And after we listen to it, we'll take a close look at the conversation and examine all the key expressions you need to know.
Sounds like a good plan. Let's listen to that conversation right after this short message.
The best way to study with Culips is by becoming a Culips member. When you become a Culips member, you will get full transcripts, detailed vocabulary explanations, and quizzes for each episode. Visit culips.com. That's to sign up and become a member.
Hi, what can I get for you today?
Hey there. I'd like 1 loaf of whole wheat and a loaf of sourdough, please.
Sure thing. You want them sliced?
Yeah, why not? Thanks.
No problem. Anything else?
Ooh, those cookies look delicious. What kind are they?
Double chocolate. They're a fresh batch, too. I just popped them out of the oven 15 minutes ago.
Man, well, in that case, I'm gonna have to grab some. I'll take a dozen, please.
Sounds good.
Oh, wait. Do they contain nuts?
Nope, they're nut-free.
Ah, okay, perfect.
Okay, here you go. 2 loaves of bread and some cookies. I gave you a baker's dozen, no extra charge.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks a bunch.
Have a great day.
We just heard a conversation between a customer and a baker. And the customer bought a couple loaves of bread and some cookies. So now we're going to take a closer look at this conversation. And we're going to look at the key expressions and vocabulary that was used to successfully finish this purchase. And today we have 3 key areas of the conversation that we'll look at in more detail. Okay, and the first area that we'll examine are specific counting words that we use at the bakery. Let's take another listen to the customer when he ordered the bread. Let's listen to the way that he did this. I'd like 1 loaf of whole wheat and a loaf of sourdough, please. Suzanne, what was the counter word that the customer used for bread?
Yeah, well, he ordered 1 loaf. 1 loaf of whole wheat and a loaf of sourdough.
Yeah, so because bread is a non-countable noun, we can't say 1 bread, 2 bread, 3 bread. We have to use this special word, loaf. And I think maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Suzanne, but do we use loaf to count any other things, or is it just bread?
I think loaf is mostly used for bread and other baked goods closely related to bread, like a small cake.
So, Suzanne, you have 1 loaf, but what happens if you have 2? Then what do you have? You have 2.
Yeah. So then it changes to loaves. Loaves. So the F becomes a V sound, and the plural is a Z sound. So it's an L-O-A-F for loaf and L-O-A-V-E-S, loaves.
So 1 loaf, 2 loaves of bread. So this is the counter for bread. And what about when you order something at the bakery? What about the quantity? Like if you're getting cookies or bagels. Of course, you can order them individually. This is not a problem. But we have a specific amount that we usually buy, don't we?
Yeah. So smaller items in the bakery are normally ordered or counted by what's called the dozen or half dozen. A dozen is 12 items or a count of 12. And If you don't want that many, you might ask for a half a dozen. Half dozen. So that's 6.
Yeah.
And you can double that and get 2 dozen or 3 dozen, depending on how many people you're entertaining.
Or how big your stomach is.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's very common to hear people at the bakery say, oh, I'll have 2 dozen cupcakes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're planning a birthday party or something. So this just means 24 cupcakes. So the common unit of measurement is the dozen in the bakery.
Yes. At the end of the conversation, Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
the baker says, I gave you a baker's dozen. What does that mean? Is that the same as 12?
Yeah, a baker's dozen. This is interesting. This means 13. Okay, so baker's dozen means 13. And it's kind of a tradition that if somebody orders a dozen, the baker will give you a baker's dozen at no extra charge. So it's kind of a buy 12, get one free sale.
Oh,
And the history of this expression is really interesting, but also very complicated. So we will explain it in more detail in our learning materials for this episode. So all of the QLIPS members, make sure to check out the learning materials to learn more about this expression, baker's dozen.
cool.
Okay, Suzanne, let's move on to the second key area of the conversation. And this is asking for more details. Okay, let's take a look at when the customer asks the baker for more details about the cookies that he sees in the display counter. Okay, let's just take another listen to that part. Those cookies look delicious. What kind are they? Those cookies look delicious. What kind are they? This makes sense, right? When you visit
Yeah.
the bakery, you're going to want to find out more information about an item before you purchase it.
Totally. And that's what we heard in the conversation, right?
Yeah, the customer asked about the cookies. He asked about what kind they were.
Yeah. And the baker told him that they were a fresh batch of double chocolate cookies.
Oh, I would kill for a fresh batch of double chocolate cookies right now.
Me too. Me too.
What is a fresh batch, Suzanne? This is an interesting expression. Fresh batch.
Well, that's a good question. So a batch, and the spelling of that word is B-A-T-C-H, by the way. A batch is a quantity of baked goods that are all made at the same time. They all came out of the oven at the same time.
Yeah. So you can have a batch of cookies, a batch of muffins, a batch of bread, a batch of any baked good, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you make cookies, and let's say you make 3 dozen cookies, so 36 cookies, then you made a batch of 36 cookies.
So then a fresh batch just means that all of the cookies that are on display are fresh.
Yeah, exactly. So they're fresh because the baker just popped them out of the oven.
Pop. Just popped them out.
Yeah.
I like this verb, a phrasal verb, to pop something out of the oven. And this means remove, right?
Yeah. And actually, we can pop something out of the oven, and we can also pop something into the oven. So in this context, pop out, pop in just means move quickly.
So if you pop some cookies out of the oven, you remove them from the oven quickly. And you're probably just doing this because the cooking sheet is really hot and you don't want to burn your hand. On the other side of it, if you pop something into the oven, you put it into the oven quickly. And maybe this is because standing in front of the open oven is really hot and can be dangerous. So you don't want to hang out there for long. You want to pop something into the oven quickly and then close the oven door.
Yeah, that's for sure. I was thinking it also kind of makes a little pop noise when you shut the door quick, right?
Oh, that's true. I like that noise, actually. The springs
Yeah.
clamping shut makes a little boing pop
Boing,
sound.
Pop sound, yeah.
Suzanne, what is our third key area of the conversation?
The third part of this conversation we're going to look at closely today is when the customer confirms the cookie ingredients with the baker. So let's take a listen to that again.
Oh, wait. Do they contain nuts? Oh, wait. Do they contain nuts? You know, these days a lot of people don't eat baked goods because they're allergic to some of the ingredients.
That's right. It's really true. In the example, it sounds like the customer might have a nut allergy.
A nut allergy. Yeah. So somebody with a nut allergy becomes sick if they eat nuts and sometimes can even die. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
And in addition to nut allergies, many people might be allergic to gluten, which is something that's in flour, right? Or even dairy products. You might be lactose intolerant and can't consume lactose.
Yeah. So, Andrew, pretend I'm the baker and you want to find out if a loaf of bread has gluten in it. You have a gluten allergy, and so it's important for you to know. How can you do that?
Okay, well, I could say something like, hey, by the way, does this have gluten in it? Or is there gluten in this bread? Or maybe even, is this bread gluten-free? Or I could even, now that I think of it, I could even use the question style that we heard in the conversation and ask, does this bread contain gluten?
Yeah, that's good. You could ask, do you sell any gluten-free bread in general?
Ooh, I like that one. Yeah, do you sell gluten-free bread?
Maybe they have a selection.
It's possible. It's getting more and more popular these days.
Yeah.
Anyways, Sue, how could you answer this question if you're the baker and I ask you, hey, by the way, does this have gluten in it? What could you say? What should our listeners expect to hear?
Well, probably something simple like, yes, this bread is gluten-free. Or, ooh, no, there's gluten in this bread.
So, just in case you have an allergy, make sure to always confirm the ingredients of an item at a restaurant or at a bakery or grocery store or whatever before you eat it, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode.
And we will be replaying the conversation one more time in just a moment, so stay tuned for that.
And if you guys enjoyed today's episode, please support us. You can rate and review us wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or comments for us, you can send us a message through our Facebook page at facebook.com/Culips podcast. And we have a website, culips.com. It's the place you can learn about becoming a Culips member, and also the place where you can listen to all of our previous episodes.
That is right. So that's it for us today, but we'll be back soon with another Culips episode.
Bye.
Bye. Hi. What can I get for you today?
Hey there. I'd like 1 loaf of whole wheat and a loaf of sourdough, please.
Sure thing. You want them sliced?
Yeah, why not? Thanks.
No problem. Anything else?
Ooh, those cookies look delicious. What kind are they?
Double chocolate. They're a fresh batch, too. I just popped them out of the oven 15 minutes ago.
Man, well, in that case, I'm gonna have to grab some. I'll take a dozen, please.
Sounds good.
Oh, wait. Do they contain nuts?
Nope. They're nut-free.
Ah, okay. Perfect.
Okay, here you go. 2 loaves of bread and some cookies.